And we'll quickly go to Dave in Boise, who's been very patient. Dave, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kevin. Hey, do you remember a couple of years ago the big brouhaha about bullying in schools and bullying this and bullying that?
Yes.
Okay. Isn't that what the Democrats or the liberals are doing right now? Just bullying, bullying, and bullying?
That's a good point.
Why don't we just all organize on the other side and say, stop your bullying, stop your bullying. You know, big placards everywhere, billboards, stop your bullying. I mean, chief bullying is, probably Maxine Waters, but anyway, it just seems to me that they put up through the school system, a big campaign of stop bullying, and now they're doing it themselves. So anyway, food for thought. Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you, Dave. You have a good day.
Yeah, bye.
I like that idea. Stop the bullying, Obama. By the way, Obama's making a big speech. The first time in a while. Isn't that odd that the president has this controversial meeting with Putin, and there he's back, Obama. Obama's back, everybody. Back again. Oh, Nancy Pelosi's speaking as well. Boy, it's tough. Apparently, they're organizing their opposition to Brett Kavanaugh. Funny how you haven't heard much about Brett Kavanaugh. Very, very shrewd of the president to make that nomination and then distract everybody in the ADD social media world that we are driven to today.
The disagreements between our two countries are well known, and President Putin and I discussed them at length.
Yeah, I did heard these rumors that we allegedly collected compromising material on Mr. Trump when he was visiting Moscow. Well, distinguished colleague, let me tell you this. When President Trump visited Moscow back then, I didn't even know that he was in Moscow. I treat President Trump with utmost respect.
President Putin was extremely strong and powerful in his denial today, and what he did is an incredible offer. He offered to have the people working on the case come and work with their investigators with respect to the 12 people. I think that's an incredible offer.
The Russian state has never interfered and is not going to interfere into internal American affairs, including election process.
I would rather take a political risk in pursuit of peace than to risk peace in pursuit of politics.
And we will hear more of your thoughts on that at 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Joined now by, author of a fascinating new book, Life After Google. George Gilder joining us now from somewhere in Massachusetts, east of the Great River. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Where are you in Massachusetts?
I live in the Berkshires in a small town called Tyringham near Tanglewood. You may have heard of the summer home of the Boston Symphony Orchestra. And Yo-Yo Ma lives in our town.
The Berkshires, something like that. Welcome to Idaho.
I've spent quite a lot of time in Idaho. I wrote the history of Micron technology years ago in a book called The Spirit of Enterprise.
Really?
Yeah. And told about J.R. Simplot and his great saga, moving from inventing frozen potatoes, fried potatoes for McDonald's, to really financing the leading microchip company in the world for making microchip memories.
Well, I heard from a pretty good source that's where good old JR made his bazillions, not really with potatoes, but with the Micron.
What was that source? I didn't.
I heard that's where Simplot made a lot of his money, was with Micron. It took him a while to get rolling, but that really dwarfed anything else he did.
Most of Simplot's fortune in the end came from Micron.
Yeah.
Micron became the number one memory chip producer in the world.
Right here in Idaho.
Yep.
Wow. I'm going to have to go get your book on Amazon. I'm looking at it right now. You sold me. Before we get to your new book, Mr. Gilder, I have to ask you, can you give us, most of us, obviously Simplot just down the road from us, they built a brand new world headquarters. The only thing that I can recall about J.R. Simplot was it was Brian Williams did a piece on him on NBC, and I was living east of the Great River down the road from you in New Hampshire, and you had this guy driving around in a pickup, literally, and he was one of the most fascinating characters. In your book, before we talk about your new book, The Spirit of Enterprise, can you give us some J.R. Simplot background and stories?
Yeah, well, he, during the early in his career, he survived by shooting wild horses to feed his pigs during the Great Depression. He actually got so desperate that there was no way to feed his pigs, which was his whole source of income. And he went out on the steppes or whatever and actually shot wild horses to feed his pigs. Those were the days. I mean, he went from nothing, came across the country in a covered wagon, one of the last covered wagons, and started pig farming, and ended up as one of the great entrepreneurial fortunes in the world. He was also charged by the SEC with some front-running investment violation, which was really outrageous. But anyway, I tell all these stories in the spirit of enterprise.
Yeah, I know. I'm shopping for it on Amazon, multitasking, while we're interviewing you on KIDO Talk Radio. So, all right, what is this? This is pretty provocative here, Mr. Gilder. Life after Google? There can't be life after Google. Google is everything.
Yeah, but Google has a great flaw. Its products are free. Most of its products are free. It makes all its money through advertising. And when something is free, you don't get the information conferred by prices. So Google has no real understanding of its customers, and so Google, in the end, can't really learn, which is the great process of creation of capitalist wealth, is learning. And J.R. Simplot always knew what everything cost, and his customers always paid for all his products. Google gets a monopoly by giving things away for free and then advertising. It's aggregate and advertise strategy. And in the end, it can't work. In the end, you just run out of customers without any knowledge of what they actually want and what they actually need.
So what about this big data? What does that mean for us?
Big data is the way Google imagines that if it has all the data in the world, if it really can collect all the data in the world, it can understand all its customers better than they do themselves, that it can kind of create a new super mind in the sky that can anticipate every want of its customers, and at the same time kind of obsolete its customers. It believes that through big data it can create an artificial intelligence that is superior to the human mind. And I think this is a great delusion of Silicon Valley.
Man, this reminds me of Coast to Coast. So let's go into this. Apparently, you're saying Silicon Valley is on the brink of a nervous breakdown. Can you take us into the world of Silicon Valley? Is it remnant of the Gilded Age with during the manufacturing era?
Yeah. Well, today Google installs its data centers by giant rivers, or it's dependent on the huge consumption of energy, and it's very much like the great manufacturing plants of the industrial era. They had to be placed next to rivers and near sources of energy, determined the location of their data centers, just as Ford located its biggest factory on River Rouge, and new technologies are being developed that allow you to collect processing power from individual laptop computers and even your cell phones, and organize these on a blockchain, which is the new technology that Bitcoin launched, and with distributed computer power all around the world, you could have a computer in the sky rather than cloud computing with great data centers, and it really leaves Google less powerful. Like, Google is not moving toward a monopoly. Google does not have to be broken up. Google itself is on the way to becoming the IBM of this era.
All right, Mr. Gilder, we appreciate you. Life after Gilder, life after Google, not life after Gilder. You got a long life left. The fall of big data and the rise of the blockchain economy. We appreciate you, and I also purchased your other book there, by the way, so you sold me, sir.
Thank you so much.
All right. There was an example of a lot of great information, and I'm sure Mr. Gilder is a great writer, but, you ever go somewhere, you're maybe having a soda or something, and you just don't connect? Here we have two sides where just didn't connect. I was hoping to hear about the inside story of what really happens in Silicon Valley, when they buy homes for $10 or $20, $30 million. Like the modern day, is Zuckerberg and all those other jabrones, the modern day version of like the Vanderbilts or Carnegie or Ford, right? That's what I wanted to hear, but we do thank Mr. Gilder. He sold me on his book. That's the value of multitasking. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So, are you getting ready to go on a plane? And this does not bear well for our yearly sojourn to Washington, D.C., because they still haven't come up with the rocket train yet. However, airline seats are getting smaller. That's right. Oh, and we're banning plastic straws to save the environment. Let's get the details here at KIDO Talk Radio.
Airlines want to cram as many seats as they can into these planes, so we know that they are making them smaller. And yes, bathrooms are getting smaller as well. But the Federal Aviation Administration, they're working on something, the reauthorization bill that's working its way through Congress to set a standard for the size of seats. There would be a minimum for the width of these seats. And then we're talking about the bathrooms as they are making all of these retrofitted planes or ordering new planes. They're all ordering smaller bathrooms to make for an extra row of seats.
Isn't that reassuring? More profits, less comfort for the passengers. You know how they have, like, the Big and Tall shop? Well, Kevin, you look like you resemble the Big and Tall. Yeah. I self-report all the time. However, at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, could you imagine, like, an airline for the Plump Airlines? And you have to pay a little extra, but you arrive in comfort. Cattle seem to have more comfort than folks in airlines. And before that, are actually coming up next, why don't we do this? We've had plastic straws for years. is it really going to make a difference banning plastic straws? Is that going to save the economy? Is that going to save the environment? It's going to run the plastic folks out of business. And as someone who used to work in a plastic factory making plastic straws, I have a little sensitivity. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. All right, social media, good thing, maybe a bad thing. Anyway, we were talking a little bit about the Twin Falls Police Department's lip sync battle, and Anthony writes me back. Does this mean, this is what I posted on my personal Kevin Miller Facebook page. Dude, props to our friends, the Twin Falls Police Department. There's no party like a Twin Falls PD party. And so Anthony sends me something back. Kevin Miller, does this mean you're not an investigative journalist and research and find out how much taxpayer dollars were wasted in this? Are you even a journalist then? Well, I have won a Murrow Award, if that means anything. Or just another of the lamestream media hyping up the government over the individual. Like, man, Anthony, what did you have in your cup of coffee? And yes, the Twin Falls Police Department has the best video yet. Man. So I invited Anthony to give us a call here. Man, people are fired up. Yes, Anthony, there's a part of me that would love to be the contrarian. I'm a natural contrarian. Mrs. Miller will attest to that. I'm a natural contrarian, but, man, you got to be for something, right? Yeah, you could sit there and probably you would have some aspiring person that would make a name for themselves. This is a waste of money. But, man, the return with community policing would be awesome. One first must conclude the questions presented are valid. The last sentence is 1 out of 4 or 250 better than batting average by a factor of 100. I thank you, Anthony. I hope you're listening. Traffic and weather together, KIDO Talk Radio.
7's are recovered.
Ain't no party like a Tea Party Bob party. Good morning, Tea Party Bob.
Good morning, Mr. Miller. Is there any way we can turn off Liberal Steve's phone service?
Man, Liberal Steve and Max were setting that up. Caller versus caller coming soon.
We're going to have a bozo match, I guess, huh?
Wow. So they're both bozos.
Oh, gosh. Anyway, you know.
I notice you're not answering the question.
I don't need to answer that question. That's self-evident. You get me laughing in the morning. I'm not good at that.
You would be Donald Trump, and then I would be Jim Acosta. You're punching bag.
Yeah, right. You know, I have to say, why should Donald Trump have any confidence in the intelligence community? And that's an oxymoron. After 8 years of Obama's infiltration of running it, you know, is it any different than what we're seeing in the corruption in the FBI? My point is, why should we have any confidence at all in any of the previous Obama-run intelligence agencies?
More and more.
Sorry, I thought I'd throw in a little Obama. Obama's speaking right now.
Yeah, I can hear him. Please, don't. You're going to hurt my ears.
This is what we've been missing.
Gift to be able to help people.
Send him back to Kenya.
I don't know where he is. He's somewhere.
You know, these agencies.
Hold on, he's in South Africa. Hold on. You're going to give you a chance for old time's sake.
That'd be a good deal.
Here's Obama.
You get the point. It involves promoting an inclusive capitalism.
I got to tell you, I was not a fan, but he's got that charisma. Back to you.
Well, I think Trump has more charisma, especially when it comes to getting things done.
You're not the most objective.
Yeah, well,
person.
I'll tell you, I'm a lot more objective than Obama is. You know, these agencies, they swore that they didn't spy on U.S. citizens until it was discovered that they were, and that was their primary function.
Hey, look at this. Edward Snowden caught them lying and breaking the laws and turned them all in, and nothing happened.
So why are we any different than Russia in the way we spy on our citizens? No one has a clue as to what was said at Trump's private meeting for 2 hours with Putin. For all we know, he blasted Putin on the election meddling. What we need to remember is that the president went to the summit in hopes of fostering better relations with the Russians, and the second largest nuclear power, and was trying to solve some serious problems in the world. So why would you want to antagonize the men you're going to have to work with to solve the problem?
Why would you take advice from the mamby-pamby libs?
Well, there you go. You know, the degree of meddling in our elections by the Russians was minuscule compared to the voting that took place by the illegals in California.
How about the degree of meddling by the media in our elections?
Well, look, Obama knew about the Russians meddling in our elections when he was in office and blatantly denied it, publicly saying it was ridiculous to think anybody could hack into our election process. Well, we know that's a bunch of baloney.
Look, he told Mitt Romney, go back to 86 to find your foreign policy.
Look, if we're going to talk about meddling in other countries' elections, the United States should be on the top of the list.
Hey,
we have been meddling in elections for a decade.
Well, you're right, but here I've got one for you. He's still on the prowl looking for a place to live?
Of course.
You know, you and I talked about moving to Wyoming together, right? Remember that?
Yeah, no, not more. No more.
No more. They don't like the Cowboys there. Of course, I hear that Twin Falls, there's a lot of libs there, so I was thinking maybe Twin Falls, but if there's the libs, I guess we can't go there either.
Well, the problem is if we move in, they'll move out, and the housing prices will go down.
No, wait a minute. We're supposed to raise the property values, not lower them.
That won't happen. The libs will move out. There'll be tons of houses for sale.
Yeah. Tea Party Bob, the Gem State Patriot, gemstatepatriot.com. Anything else, sir?
Yeah, you know, for 30 years, since President Reagan, our country has been limping along economically while corporate America was getting rich. President Trump, an outsider, has turned that around by simply getting government out of the way. We see 40 Republicans retiring from
Congress. Oh, my
gosh.
I thought you were done.
Let me finish.
You know, hold on. You know, John Dawson sent me something yesterday. You know what he calls you? Teleprompter Bob.
Yeah, right. Well, he should try and speak at least concisely when he talks.
That would be me. Go ahead.
We've got 40 Republicans retiring from Congress this year.
Uh-huh.
And we've got to ask why. And the reason is the money spigot has been turned off from K Street and the big corporate globalists because Trump has changed the trade and the tax policies. He's a smart businessman. He didn't confront Putin publicly because he knew if he did, he wouldn't be able to strengthen relations that we need, and the open lines of communications would be closed.
All right,
Something
Tea Party
previous
Bob.
administrations did not do.
Okay, Tea Party Bob.
You're not going to let me finish, but that's
Dude, you've had
I
enough.
got enough in. I've got a lot in.
Dude,
you just kept interrupting me. You like doing that.
It's called interaction.
I know.
You know,
who's that guy?
It's like this. It's the way I justify my existence, and I need a lot of help doing that, sir. I hope you understand.
Well, you need to take some lessons from liberal Steve. He certainly gets the audience going.
Thank you, sir.
Kevin, have a wonderful day today.
You too. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Our great friend, Tea Party Bob, gemstatepatriot.com. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning. Gotta love this. You got the Democrats you would expect attacking the president, but the Republicans?
Yesterday, I keep hearing from Republicans, this is a sad day for America. It doesn't have to be a sad day for America. It could be a self-inflicted, devastating day for President Trump's legacy. But in terms of America, this is an opportunity for, from a bipartisan perspective, political leaders to stand up and say, this is not what America is. This is not what patriotism is. To be a patriot would be to vigorously defend your country's values against an adversary or a detractor, otherwise known as Vladimir Putin. The president did the opposite yesterday. So today could be a great day for America to unite and defend what this country is about, or fold our hands and say, well, it's a bad day because he just sold us down the river.
We were saying the exact same thing 11 months ago after Charlottesville, where Donald Trump said, well, there were good people on both sides. Because there obviously are good neo-Nazis. Everybody knows that. Of course not. But I have to disagree with my friend Steve, who did not go far enough. Forget subpoena power. I think he should go out and be censured by the Congress. This is a president whose ego knows no bounds. And if you really want to send a message to him as Congress, send a censure that says you have been repudiated by the legislative body for not doing your job and for embarrassing.
Wow. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. President Obama put the IRS on good, God-fearing Americans. President Obama allowed the largest extension of the deep state, the NSA, to monitor Americans without any due process. President Obama and Hillary Clinton had wonderful things planned for this country. DACA, it's not even constitutional, but it's the way it is. And here you have a Republican going after Donald Trump, saying that he should be censured. So the president does not have a right to an opinion? You know, the problem sometimes with the Republican Party is they don't stand up for their own. I give it to Bernie. I give it to Maxine. I give it to everybody else. They stick together, right? But to call for the president to be censured because he constantly attacks America, how would you feel if you had the surveillance state? How would you feel if you had members of your family targeted? I give it to Donald Trump. He speaks his mind. Hillary Clinton, as Sean Hannity likes to talk about, bit her computers, smashed them, did all these things. And nothing. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We'll have to see what happens. We'll have to see what happens between Trump and Putin. No one knows. And if Trump had been mean to Putin, he's going to put us on the edge of war. It's going to be the worst. It's going to be horrible. That's what I don't get. Donald Trump could do a lot of things, and they still would not accept him. And you know what? Trump gets that. Fake news, all these sorts of things. And to the libs and the progressives and everything else, it's crazy. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Kevin Miller in the morning here. I just find it amazing that you have Republicans and Democrats getting it together, right? What are they thinking? Now, earlier today, our friend, the judge, Jeanine Pirro, was on, and on Fox and Friends, but remember, KIDO Talk Radio, your home for Fox News on the radio, had this to say.
And I talk about this in my book, Liars, Leakers, and Liberals. John Brennan is the epitome of the swamp. For this guy to talk about treason as it relates to Donald Trump is absurd. He voted for a communist for president of the United States. I mean, don't people understand that? He's the one who peddled the dossier. He's the one who knew that Hillary Clinton paid for a fake dossier and then went all over Washington and started the investigation against Donald Trump. You think he's biased?
So we have the judge going back and forth on this with our friends at Fox and Friends earlier this morning.
Sees the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors. It was nothing short of...
So what Brian Kilmeade is reading is John Brennan's tweet. Donald Trump's press conference in Helsinki rises and exceeds the levels of the threshold of high crimes and misdemeanors. It was nothing short of treasonous. Not only were Trump's comments imbecilic, he is wholly in the pocket of Putin. Republican patriots, where are you? Well, that's what I would say to you, Republican patriots. Where are you? Educate all of us. Trump went in there. He didn't give him a judo chop, although that would be tough with Putin because he's a black belt in judo or jiu-jitsu or whatever MMA thing. Trump went in and talked. We don't know what they said, right? We don't know what happened. That's the crazy thing. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. We would love to get your thoughts on that. There's something else that has been bothering me. And let's get the latest here from our friend Tanya J. Powers.
John Schnatter, founder of the Papa John's Pizza franchise, says he shouldn't have resigned as chairman of the company's board, questioning how board members investigated his use of a racist term during a conference call with a marketing agency last May. He resigned last week after a Forbes report was published. Schnatter has also accused that marketing agency of trying to extort him for $6 million to keep the tape of that call from going public. Major League Baseball suspended its marketing agreements with Papa John's after the remark came to light. Papa John's has not commented on Schnatter's extortion claim. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
Coming up next, in our quest to be politically correct, in our quest to sanitize ourselves, are we limiting speech? Isn't protected speech classified as offensive? In other words, just because something's offensive doesn't mean it should be censored. I'll explain next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Taking your phone calls about the issues that matter to you. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, the environmental do-gooders doing their very best to make sure that you do not pollute the next time you have a soda.
Boba Guys in San Francisco has multiple locations across the country. Right now, they say they're having difficulty finding a supplier who can fulfill the demand for paper straws, especially wider ones for tapioca pearl drinks. City leaders and environmentalists rallied on the steps of City Hall to support a proposed ordinance banning plastic straws. Joining a growing list of U.S. cities, Stuart James is executive director of Center for Independent Living, a nonprofit that serves people with disabilities. He says anyone who does not have the use of their hands needs flexible straws to drink.
What will they think of next? Well, we've been full of good news today between the shrinking airline seats, the plastic straw bans, Papa John getting the boot. Here's what I don't understand. Consider this an antiquated statement from a time long ago in American history, in American life, in American culture. Papa John apparently said some bad things. Remember the guy that used to own the Clippers, Donald Sterling? He said some bad things. Racist things. Although the phone call with Donald Sterling was illegal, the recording of it, Papa John got the boot from his own board, not because of being incompetent, not because he stole money, but because Papa John said a bad word. Okay. If that's the case, and the goal is to have an egalitarian society, if that's the case, then no one should say bad words, right? Because you go back to the civil rights movement, they were righting wrongs where one set of individuals, one race, had benefits over another. Jim Crow laws, everything else, right? Dr. King, all those things. We want to live in a world where white kids, black kids, all kids get along. They don't see color. So, Papa John gets the boot, but you have people on television. What is the ABC show? Blackish, right? And people think it's hip, it's funny, they make fun of white people, that sort of thing. But could you have a show called Whitish? You have universities that go after white privilege. White people are evil. Wow. Wonder what Dr. King would say about that. I wonder what Papa John's thinking where he resigned because he said a bad word. In America, people say bad words all the time. Sticks and stones, but apparently it's more powerful than rocks and stones, right? Apparently, sticks and stones are not as powerful as words. Words are hurting people. And in this way to sanitize people, it's a little extreme. And look, I don't know what Papa John said. We all know what Donald Sterling said, but to lose your business because you said something offhanded, is anybody without sin? I can think of Patriot Ray and Ray Jr., the people I know that never swear and probably don't have any incriminating texts or any of those. And what is incriminating? You have a joke? You talk about how crazy the world is that we live in. I always refer back to this Jerry Seinfeld episode. And here's another one. You couldn't do Seinfeld today because people would be offended. My dad has a great phrase, I choose to be a victim. That should be our national motto. I choose to be a victim. And in this Seinfeld episode, Jerry's trying to date this woman who's an American Indian, right? Native American. And so he drops something off at his friend Elaine's house. It's a cigar store Indian. She finds it offensive. Well, then he starts meeting people, and everybody is offended. And we laughed about that almost 20 years ago, maybe even more than 20 years ago. Today, that is the norm. Everybody is offended. Everything is offensible. Heck, we can't even get the plastic straw ban right. But how ridiculous of a world are we raising kids in today? At 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So Donald Trump should be censored because he didn't go Chuck Norris on Vladimir Putin, who could have gone Rostov on him right back. And if you get those references, you're a smarter person than most. Right? Papa John gets the boot because he says something offensive. I find a lot of music in today's culture offensive. I find a lot of language in today's culture offensive. I find a lot of behavior offensive. But isn't that part of free speech? Isn't that part of America that we seem to be losing? And if you're going to judge Papa by getting the boot, then where are all these rap people that say a lot more worse things living the life than old Papa? I think we're losing something, and it all goes back to Obama. That's the title of our new book. It all goes back to Obama. And we were talking to Lars Larson. And what did Obama do? Attack the police. Because he could relate to that. No, he didn't. He grew up in Hawaii, went to a private school. He didn't grow up on the streets. But playing into that stereotype, undermining credibility, going after authority. Now, yeah, should you question authority? Yes. But how crazy do we get? You ever see that movie and you're going, Kevin, do you do anything? No, I watch movies. Demolition Man, where you would have people swearing and you get a fine. Good day, sir. Good day to you, sir. That's what the world is becoming. And you could say that about the politically correct Northeast, but not in the West. That's why we're supporting the Cowboys. More details on that story at KIDOTalkRadio.com. Traffic and weather together. And don't forget Glenn Beck, Dave Ramsey, Sean Hannity. Boy, how about that? The only person to go to London and Helsinki, our great friend Sean Hannity. So proud to have him on right here on 107.5 FM, 580 AM, your home for Hannity. Lars Larson after that. It just gets better and better. Stay with us all day long. Ray Maya, great job. Thank you as always. And to everyone, God bless you, your family, and keep the faith.